The steady beeping of hospital monitors was the first thing I heard as consciousness slowly returned. My eyelids felt heavy, but I forced them open, squinting against the harsh fluorescent lights. A nurse dropped her clipboard in shock when she saw me awake. Doctor, come quickly. She's awake, she called out, rushing to my bedside. My name is Emma Sullivan, and I had just woken up from a 2-month coma. The last thing I remembered was driving home from work on a rainy evening. Now I was lying in a hospital bed, my body weak from disuse, trying to piece together what had happened. As medical staff swarmed around me, conducting tests and checking vitals, I caught fragments of their conversations. Miraculous recovery, against all odds, brain activity returned. But it was a different conversation that made my blood run cold. One I had heard while in my comatose state. My mother-in-law, Patricia, had visited regularly, but not out of concern for my well-being. I remembered her voice, cruel and calculating, as she spoke on the phone next to my bed. Yes, I'm selling Emma's house. She's not waking up anyway, and my daughter needs a place to live. The doctors say she's brain dead. It's the perfect opportunity. The memory made me want to scream, but my throat was too dry from the breathing tube that had just been removed. I had heard everything during those 2 months, every scheming conversation, every manipulative plan. Patricia had no idea that coma patients could sometimes hear their surroundings. Mrs. Sullivan, the doctor's voice brought me back to the present. Can you understand me? Blink twice if you can. I blinked twice, and he smiled encouragingly. Good. You've been in a coma for about 2 months following a severe car accident. Your recovery is remarkable, but you'll need time to regain your strength. As my voice slowly returned over the next few hours, I asked the nurse to contact my best friend, Sophie, instead of my husband, Mark. I needed to know exactly what had happened while I was unconscious, and I knew Sophie would tell me the truth. Sophie arrived within an hour, tears streaming down her face as she hugged me carefully. Emma, oh my God, I can't believe you're awake. I've been so worried. Sophie, my voice was hoarse but urgent, tell me about my house. What has Patricia done? Sophie's expression darkened. How did you? Never mind. It's bad, Emma. Patricia convinced Mark that you'd want your house to go to his sister, Ashley. She forged your signature on some documents while you were in the coma. They've already started moving Ashley's things in. I closed my eyes, remembering more snippets from my comatose state. Patricia's voice. Mark, darling, Emma would want Ashley to have the house. You know how close they were. The truth was, Ashley and I barely spoke, and Patricia had always resented that I owned the house outright, an inheritance from my grandmother. Where's Mark now? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. He's been staying at Patricia's house, with Ashley. He said it was too painful to be in your house alone. But Sophie hesitated. But he's been helping him steal it from me, I finished. The betrayal hurt, but not as much as I expected. During my coma, I'd heard enough of Mark's conversations with his mother to know he wasn't the man I thought I'd married. What they didn't know, what Patricia hadn't bothered to check in her rush to seize my property, was that my grandmother had been smarter than that. The house wasn't just deeded to me, it was held in an irrevocable trust with specific conditions. My grandmother had seen enough family drama in her lifetime to know the importance of protecting assets. Sophie, I said, reaching for her hand, I need you to contact Benjamin Wright, my grandmother's lawyer. Don't tell anyone else I'm awake yet. Not Mark, not Patricia, no one. Emma, what are you planning? I managed a small smile, remembering Patricia's last visit just yesterday. She'd been on the phone with a real estate agent, discussing rental prices for my house. Completely confident in her victory, Patricia thinks she's won because I was brain dead. But I heard everything. Every plan, every lie, every scheme. I know exactly what they've done, and more importantly, I know what they're planning to do next. Sophie squeezed my hand, understanding dawning in her eyes. And you recorded everything, didn't you? With that new medical proxy app you told me about before the accident, the one that records all conversations in the patient's room. I nodded slowly. Every word. But first, let them think they've won. I want to see their faces when they realize I heard everything they said while I was gone. As Sophie left to make the call to Benjamin, I lay back in my hospital bed, conserving my strength. Patricia had no idea that her bedside confessions had sealed her fate. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply letting your enemies think they've won. until the perfect moment to prove them wrong. The doctor said I would need a few more days in the hospital to regain my strength. That was fine with me. It would give Benjamin time to prepare everything we needed. Patricia and Mark thought they had staged the perfect plot during my coma. They were about to learn that sometimes playing dead is the best way to catch the snake in your garden. 3 days after waking up, I was still in the hospital when I heard Patricia's shrill voice echoing down the hallway. My heart raced, but I quickly closed my eyes, maintaining steady breathing. The door opened and I could smell her overwhelming perfume. "Still no change," she said loudly, presumably on her phone. "Ashley's already redecorated half the house. We should have the rental agreement signed by next week. The extra income will be perfect for her wedding plans." I felt her move closer to my bed. Can you believe the doctors still want to run tests? They should just let nature take its course. It's been 2 months. She's not coming back. Just then my phone, which Sophie had placed on my bedside table, pinged with a message. Patricia went silent. "Hello." She moved closer, probably trying to see the screen. I heard her sharp intake of breath. "Benjamin Wright. Why is Emma's grandmother's lawyer messaging her now?" The rustle of movement told me she was reaching for my phone. That's when I opened my eyes. "I wouldn't touch that if I were you, Patricia." Her scream was everything I'd hoped for. She stumbled backward, face pale as if she'd seen a ghost. In a way, she had. "Emma? But you're brain dead." I finished for her, my voice stronger now after days of therapy. "That's what you've been telling everyone, isn't it? Along with all those plans for my house." She recovered quickly, smoothing her expensive blouse. "You must be confused, dear. The doctor said you had minimal brain activity. We were just trying to do what's best for everyone. By forging my signature, by planning to rent out my house, by convincing Mark I'd want Ashley to have everything." Her eyes narrowed. "You can't prove any of that. You were in a coma." I reached for my phone, pulling up the recording app. "Actually, I can prove all of it. It's amazing what technology can do these days. Did you know there's an app that records everything said in a patient's room once it's activated by their medical proxy?" The color drained from her face again. You recorded." "Everything," I confirmed. "Every visit, every phone call, every scheme you plotted by my bedside. Would you like to hear some highlights? Like when you told Ashley she could sell my grandmother's antiques, or when you planned to claim I'd verbally promised the house to her before my accident." Patricia's hands were shaking now. "Those recordings won't hold up. You were unconscious." "Maybe not on their own," I agreed. "But combined with the forged documents you submitted, the fake witness statements, Benjamin has been quite busy gathering evidence." She straightened up, trying to regain control. "Mark won't let you do this. He agrees Ashley deserves." Mark lost any say in this when he chose to help steal from his comatose wife. I cut her off. "But please, keep talking. The app is still recording." The door opened again, and Sophie walked in with Benjamin Wright. Patricia's face went from white to gray. "Mrs. Watson," Benjamin said formally, addressing Patricia, "I've been hoping to speak with you about some concerning documents that were recently filed." Patricia grabbed her purse, heading for the door. "I don't have to listen to this. You were half dead, Emma. We did what needed to be done." "No, Patricia," I called after her. "You did what you wanted to do, thinking I'd never wake up to stop you. That was your mistake." She paused at the door, turning back with a sneer. "You don't have the strength for this fight. Look at you, you can barely sit up." I smiled, holding up my phone. "I don't need strength. I just needed you to keep talking. And you did, day after day, sitting right here, laying out every detail of your plans. Would you like to know what else I recorded while you thought I couldn't hear?" She fled, her heels clicking rapidly down the hallway. Benjamin placed a thick folder on my lap. "Everything's ready," he said. "The trust documents, the recordings, the evidence of fraud. Would you like me to proceed?" I nodded, thinking of Ashley already redecorating my home, Mark helping her move in, Patricia orchestrating everything from the shadows. "Yes," I said firmly. "It's time they learned who they were really dealing with." Sophie sat beside me, squeezing my hand. "Mark's been calling me, asking if I've heard anything about your condition. Has he visited even once since they started moving Ashley in?" She shook her head. "Then he's made his choice," I said, opening the folder Benjamin had brought. "Now it's time for me to make mine." As I signed the papers authorizing Benjamin to proceed with legal action, I thought about Patricia's words. You don't have the strength for this fight. She was wrong. Sometimes strength isn't about physical power. Sometimes it's about lying still, listening carefully, and waiting for the perfect moment to show your enemies exactly how badly they've underestimated you. Benjamin, I said, handing him back the signed documents, make sure they understand one thing. This is just the beginning. 1 week later, I sat in Benjamin's office, watching the security camera from my house. Inside, Patricia, Mark, and Ashley were laughing and planning a party, still thinking I was in a coma. They were celebrating after stealing from me. Are you ready? Benjamin asked, fixing his tie. I nodded and adjusted the blanket on my hospital wheelchair. I could walk a little now, but we decided to make it look like I was still weak. We wanted them to think I wasn't a threat. Sophie pushed me to the front door, my house, with my key they never found. Their faces when I rolled in were unforgettable. Hello, family, I said calmly. Having a party without me? Ashley dropped her wine glass. Mark went pale. But Patricia, always pretending to care, spoke first. Emma, thank God you're okay. We were just taking care of the house for you. By selling my grandmother's antiques. I pointed to the empty spaces. By planning to rent it out? Emma, Mark said, stepping forward, you're still healing. You don't understand. Play it, I told Sophie. She held up her tablet. Patricia's voice came through. Once we get rid of her things, no one will remember she lived here. Mark, Ashley will make this house what it was always meant to be. Then Mark's voice. Emma never appreciated this place anyway. More clips played, every cruel thing they said and planned while I was in the hospital. You recorded us? Ashley asked, shocked. Every word, I said. And we gave it all to the police. They're very interested in people committing fraud against someone in a coma. Patricia stepped forward angrily. You ungrateful little. Mrs. Watson, Benjamin said firmly, watch your words. You're already in trouble. You can't prove anything, she snapped. I smiled and shut my phone. Actually, I already did. This whole talk is being recorded and live-streamed to the police. Just then, the front door opened. 2 police officers walked in. Patricia's face fell. As they were taken away, Mark tried one last time. Emma, please. We can fix this. I'm still your husband. No, Mark. You stopped being my husband when you tried to steal from me while I was fighting to live. After they were gone, Sophie helped me out of the wheelchair. We walked around my home, looking at everything that needed to be fixed. You know, Sophie said, your grandma would be proud. She always said you were stronger than anyone knew. I smiled and touched the wall where her portrait would hang again. She taught me well. Patricia never read the trust documents. My grandma made sure no one could ever take this house from me. In the weeks that followed, justice was served. Patricia was charged with fraud and forgery. Ashley had to return what she stole. Mark got divorce papers and moved back in with his mom. Their dreams of easy money were over. Patricia sent me a letter from jail. You ruined everything. We were going to be a real family. I wrote back, real family doesn't steal from someone in a coma. 6 months later, I stood in my fully restored home, hosting a different kind of party. Sophie, Benjamin, and the hospital staff were there. The house was filled with laughter and love, just as it should be. To Emma, Sophie said, raising her glass, who showed us that the best revenge is staying quiet and letting others expose themselves. I smiled, thinking of Patricia, Mark, and Ashley. They thought I was weak. They never knew I was waiting for the right moment. My grandmother's portrait looked down at me. I could almost hear her say, the strongest people are often the quietest. They watch, wait, and strike at the right time. She was right. I didn't need to fight or yell. I just had to wait until the time was right to show them they had never truly won. The house was mine again. My life was mine, and my future was bright. Sometimes the best ending comes not from fighting your enemies, but from proving they never should have underestimated you.